Basically, the poem that I've written for Haunted Blackpool is about my mum's house. It was featured on Living with the Dead, which is a paranormal, supernatural kind of programme. Basically, I thought I'd let everyone know about how we discovered it was haunted. We've called this one Extended Family. I'll tell you a tale of a family who moved to Blackpool in '87. Their house on Central Drive was just what they sought. All in all, it seemed their own bit of heaven. First, they'd viewed the house next door, but the owners had changed their minds. It wasn't for sale, but not to despair. Their neighbour was putting up a sign. So after 3 viewings, well, more like interviews, the lady decided to them she would sell. This wonderful old house felt so safe and warm. As much as they liked it, the house liked them as well. From the very first day that the family moved in, they knew that they weren't alone. The atmosphere in the dining room changed, almost becoming a no-go zone. It was so hostile that they'd run through it just to get to the kitchen on the other side. No one would sit at the table. The oppression was hard to abide. As they got used to this unpleasant feeling, it changed, becoming accepting and warm. The house had calmed and claimed them, and a very special bond began to form. One night, a child was heard to cry. The mother rose to go and see what was wrong. Coming out of her room, she saw a little girl, sat on the stairs sobbing, but not for long. The woman stopped and realised quickly, this child was not her own. Brown ringleted hair and rosy cheeks, a burgundy gown perfectly sewn. Beyond the girl and facing the stairs, a mirror hung upon the wall. The mother looked in it and saw herself, but there was no reflection of the girl at all. After that, sightings came thick and fast, affecting each member of the family. But despite all this, they were not afraid, only sometimes startled by something they'd see. In November '94, an event occurred which none of them will ever forget. A force of energy rushed through the house like the wind in the wake of a jet. It was so strong that the window glass creaked and flexed as if ready to shatter. The back door flew open, all on its own, so they ran to see what was the matter. Outside the sun shone with not a breath of wind, a perfectly still winter's day. They closed the door and watched agog as the handle moved that and this way. Again the door sprang open on its own. They couldn't believe their eyes. The spirits of the house were playing their games to make the family realise. There wasn't just 1 or 2 spirits residing here, more than 5, and this was their home. Yet still, there was no cause for fear. They weren't the type to float around and moan. Many years passed and more events occurred, leaving the family without any doubt. They weren't the only people living here, so eventually they called some experts out. Curious to learn more, in 2009, a TV programme called Living with the Dead came to investigate and film what they found, but they were in for a shock instead. The resident spirits didn't like them and tried to force these investigators out. Things were thrown and voices were heard telling them to get out. They dubbed this house with a title. One of the most haunted houses in England. It's true. But the family never found out any more about their guests, at least nothing more than they already knew. To this day, the spirits remain in that home, most welcome to live with that family. I know because it's my childhood home. They're my kindred, you see. The main 3 spirits are called Tilly, Florrie and George. The names of the others we just don't know. One day we'll find out, of that I am sure. Now part of our family, despite that TV show. But remember this, they aren't phantoms or ghouls. They are spirits, the souls of people once alive, in this eerie town, our spooky Blackpool, at that unique home on Central Drive.